Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. We are no longer in the studio.
So we went off. Ideally, we would like to be in a studio. It's just like...
It's hard. It's not always convenient.
And then like by the time everything's done, it's like too late to even go in anywhere.
But Hannah did get a call today.
We did, and the podcast sound room should be up in September.
So that's not, I guess it's like end of August.
Yeah.
So hopefully soon.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, I was surprised that they even called at all.
Yeah, I thought that was nice.
I know. I agree.
So there's a lot of logistical things we'll have to figure out if we use the podcast room.
Yes. We'll just have to try it.
I know. Oh, and we purchased some new equipment, which actually arrived when I left my house. Yeah, there was, I think that the mini mics and the little car phone holder came in the same package. So those arrived.
We'll definitely have to do a test run with those. Make sure it's the sound that we want it to be.
Because last time we just didn't try it at all and just went expecting everything to be fine.
This will be fine. We'll just record it on our phones.
I was thinking though, because before I came here, I went to Target. They have all their Halloween stuff out. They don't have everything out in the back, since back to school happened 2 days ago. That stuff is all gone. And
bye.
Yeah, they have a couple Halloween things back there, but in the front they have tons of Halloween stuff, and it's so cute, and I have no idea what we would do with it.
Right. But it's cute.
We should find something to do with it, some reason. Or look around town and see if there's any fun I don't know, activity. I don't know. We just should look at stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and in case anyone forgot, I know it's still end of August, but we haven't gotten any recommendations on Halloween costumes.
Oh, yeah. And nobody said anything. I guess we could figure it out ourselves, but
I think it would be fun if we did dress up every time we recorded in October, but I already know that's going to be a lofty goal. But if people would leave some recommendations of what you think we should dress up as, if you wanted to I don't know, donate money to us. We can take a trip to Spirit Halloween, which we should do that anyway. That would be funny.
I love going in there anyway, just to look around, because sometimes they have merch. Good merch.
I was there because we got this funny gift for my coworker for his birthday, but I was there at Spirit Halloween, and I was in the checkout, and they had these I honestly couldn't tell what they were. I think they were just chip bag clips, which I would never really use that, but they had them for tons of horror movies or
that's cute.
Yeah, they had them for Nightmare Before Christmas, Beetlejuice, a bunch of different ones, and it's one of those things where it's collect them all, and there's 8 in the set, and then I wish I remembered how much they were. I feel they were almost $10 each, because I was going to buy one. I'm oh my gosh, if they're
fun.
$3. No, they was kind of expensive.
I feel it is kind of expensive in there. And some of the costumes are $60.
And they're not even good quality.
Right. It's always that cheapy Halloween material.
Well, last year when we were...
Monster High.
Yeah. And I remember I was going to get that wig, and then they had the wig again. They're same one. So I feel they're just recycling a lot of ideas.
I know.
Here.
I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot of Barbie and Ken stuff this year.
It was all gone. The majority of it was gone. So people
they're getting their stuff early, man.
Yeah. I wish that we had
crazy.
a Halloween party to go to. A big one.
I know.
We don't.
No.
We should just find one and just crash it.
We can go to the college town around here.
We just can go.
As 30-year-old woman.
No one would know. We look
Especially with the
young.
costumes.
Yeah, it's like we can do some fun face makeup. No one would know. Oh my God. Knowing like us, we'd see like somebody's sibling and they'd be like,
what are you old ladies doing here?
Never mind.
We're chaperoning.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. We don't really want to touch on it too much because last time our whole episode was about the Bethany reality reckoning, but we did discuss on our TikTok Ariana's podcast with Sheena. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was good. I'm glad they didn't like go into every little thing, but I'm glad they kind of like disputed some of the stuff like Rachel was saying. I was happy with that. I mean, it wasn't like crazy, but I don't know. I thought it was good though. I'm glad she like said something. I mean, I feel like there's only so much you can like keep hearing and stuff without you saying anything.
Right. I thought she was very well spoken.
I know,
too.
And I feel like that just shows how much more mature she is than Tom and Rachel.
Right. And just like, you know, she even said regarding some of the stuff that was said at the reunion, she's like, that was so raw and fresh. I mean, of course.
I'm going to be mad and say things. Yeah. I like, too, how Bethany made the whole thing like, oh, if you were my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, well, I have a mom, too. And she did not like what they did to me. You know, it's like, and I remember even saying that to somebody else I was talking to them about. I'm like, she's allowed to be like, if that was your child that got that done, or if my child was Rachel and did something like, I wouldn't be happy with them. No,
I wouldn't either. I'd be mortified for like because of what they did. I'd be extremely disappointed. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but I thought Sheena really pulled out her journalism.
Yeah, she did pretty.
You know, I mean, didn't she go to school for that? Like, but that's just the difference, I think, between, like, and you say what you want, you know, she's a reality star herself, but she does have more of like a natural way about her to interview someone.
Right.
She didn't overpower the conversation. No. She gave Ariana plenty of space to speak and was able to sit in quietness and listen.
Right.
So it was way more enjoyable to listen to than Bethany.
Yes. So. And like obviously I love how Sheena just like fully embraces watching the show.
Oh, I know.
She has the facts from all the seasons. But I mean that obviously she's on the show, but there is a difference between somebody who's just like saying whatever they think because of what they read online. It's like you weren't there.
No, and like we said before, she didn't do her homework. She didn't prepare for it. You can't literally just see these things as isolated incidences and make a judgment based on it. And like, I don't know, we don't need to go on about that part of it for forever, but that's why it was just frustrating, you know? It was frustrating to listen to.
And I like too how Ariana was like, I was just kind of disappointed in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I thought she was like nice about Rachel too. It's like Bethany knows better, you know, and I'd like to say Rachel does too, but clearly
the poor thing is very easily led.
Yes.
I said in our TikTok too, like I felt a undertone of sadness from Ariana, like sadness for obviously what happened with her relationship, what happened with the friendship, but also just like genuine, like I feel sympathy for Rachel because it's clear that she does not understand that she's being manipulated.
Right. And it's like she still doesn't get it. And I definitely felt like that too. Like I felt like she just seemed really disappointed in everything.
Yeah. So. No, it was good. And we talked about it before, but I really am excited for her book and hearing her talk about like a little bit more about the cocktails. And it made me
I think
excited.
It'll be an interesting book.
Yeah.
To like kind of go through. I never looked at their
The
other
first
book,
one, me either.
so I don't even know if it's like going to be a similar like
Yeah.
format type thing or
I
what.
mean, if anything, it'll be fun to
Like
kind
the
of try some of the
I know.
drinks. Yeah. So,
Yeah, well, good for her. Yeah, I think she definitely handled it with a lot of maturity. So
yeah.
that's good.
Did you see a funny thing
Oh
about
yeah,
it?
that's right. I thought this was really
My
funny.
awkward segue.
Oh my gosh, I thought this was really funny. Somebody commented this on something. Should I say who it was by?
Sure, give him a shout out. We could use everything.
So GOOBLYTHE. So she was explaining the Scandival, but using the Friends characters to like help you understand. You need to use the Friends comparison. It's like Chandler and Monica have been together for years and bought a house together, but Chandler goes and has an affair with Rachel. And Monica has no idea, keeps defending both Chandler and her BFF Rachel whenever anybody mentions anything to her. And Chandler's BFF, Joey, totally knows and is keeping it a secret too. Oh, and Rachel also hooked up with Joey one night, probably to make Chandler jealous. Joey is the very recent ex-husband of Phoebe. Just go with me here. And Phoebe is so hurt that Joey hooked up with another person in the friend group. And everybody just keeps focusing on this because the other affair has been kept a secret. Oh, and also Rachel just broke off her engagement with Ross. Seriously, I couldn't make this up even if I tried. But I was like,
that is true.
I just thought that was
yeah.
really
I mean,
funny.
obviously, it's not like the exact same
No.
plot line, but it's like the same
like,
dynamic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that was funny.
I like that. Wow, good for that.
Goobly the.
Nice job.
Goobly. That's like, I don't even know.
You're probably saying it wrong.
It's probably like, go obly. Go obly.
You know what?
Go obly.
They get a shout out on the pod.
Anywho.
Yeah, that's a good one because a lot of people just like can't wrap their mind around it, or if they didn't watch the Vanderpump, you know, they're just not gonna get it.
No, they don't get it.
So I had kind of a crazy idea.
All right. Wait, what's it about? Us or the podcast?
Well, it would be more about me, but I think it could potentially benefit us.
Okay.
Okay. Should I apply for The Bachelor?
Oh, that would be fun.
Not that I would ever get on it, but I'm kind of like
interested
to see.
in like the I know, like the whole process. I've always thought that I'd love to know somebody who like does it, or like I'm like I want to do. I mean, obviously I can't, but I just want to go on and experience.
You could. It would be very the most dramatic season ever.
The way they always say
She
that.
has a family at home.
And then the guy's like, "Did you just use me?"
No,
that's not how it looks.
But
that would be fun.
Because I honestly, I mean, I haven't watched The Bachelor or Bachelorette in quite some time. But then I was listening, I listen to like Nick Viall's podcast, and The Bachelorette is over, and then they announced the new Bachelor. I cannot, for the life of me, remember his name. I should have looked it up. I think it's
he's your
Joey.
type?
I feel like I should be careful what I say in case I
get on it.
Chosen. Yes, I think I'm in love with him just by looking at these photos. No, but I feel like the one photo I saw of him was the like cast photo, and those are always horrible.
Is it this guy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh no, he looks.
Be careful.
He looks handsome there.
Yeah, like those cast photos are always horrific.
Fun. Yeah, why not?
I mean, why
just
not?
Give it a try.
I mean, there's no way I'm gonna like actually make it
you
on, but
know.
it would
There's
be kind of
people
funny
on
just
there.
to see like
how far,
yes.
or like what if you get to like a certain point, but then don't get all the way.
Right, and like I can't realistically just like quit my job.
Right.
But I wonder what would happen if I literally went to them and said, look, I got on The Bachelor.
I feel like They have to, because it'd just be like a maternity leave.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's that long. I was looking it up,
No.
and I don't think it's actually that long of a
I know, because
time.
they're always like week by week, and we're like,
Right.
oh, that was a whole week.
Or they probably do some things like 2 things in 1 week
Oh, yeah.
sometimes.
I'm sure they do. It's probably like every day.
Yeah.
And we're just like, they
It's
film it
just
all in 2
drug out
weeks.
over like
Yeah.
3 months for us. So I think it would be kind of funny
That would
just
be
to apply.
funny. Might as well try. Then
Yeah.
if it doesn't work this time, do it next time.
Just keep doing it.
Are you going to watch The Golden Bachelor?
I don't
Because I kind of
know.
want to. They haven't showed what the ladies look like yet, did they?
I haven't seen, but
Me
I
either.
haven't really been following. I know part of me wants to, but
I
the
just
other
want to
part
at
of
least see
me,
the first episode.
yeah, like I think I'll see the first one just to see. I don't remember the last season I watched. I just like
I feel
had one
like
of
it
those,
was
like,
Colton was the last one.
oh yeah, well that obviously didn't work out.
No.
We went in a completely different direction. I just had one of those moments where I'm like, what am I watching? None of this even is real. None of this matters in the scheme of our world,
Well,
you
and
know?
I know, and it just is like, in the beginning, it seemed more genuine because it wasn't like a bunch of clout chasers,
Mhm.
and now it just really feels like it really took.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like people just want to be famous now, and so it's kind of
Right.
like boring
Well,
in that way.
and when you just see so many people that are so many of the couples that don't work out, you're like, okay,
Shock.
you know? Right. Like it's
It is
not.
kind of like a weird thing, like, you know, you have to like be invested in that person.
I
I don't
know.
know. It just.
It's interesting too, because like how Nick, this is what I love listening to him for, even if I don't watch The Bachelor. Like I love how he'll put
I know.
his
I like.
inside scoop in there.
I know. I like listening to the stuff about The Bachelor, even though I don't really watch
Yeah.
it.
But like he's been on it like 4 times, so he really knows what's going on.
Literally,
But
it's
he'll just be like, you know, yeah, no, this is how it goes.
Mhm.
Or like when it's the final episode and stuff, like at that point, and they're coming out for after the final rose. At that point, like they've been together for I don't even know how many weeks, but it's been quite a while.
Right.
So like, are they watching this season together?
Right.
But like they have to like not even really be seen. And
I know
then
that'd be such a weird dynamic. Although they're not like overly famous people
no,
anyway, so it's probably easier to like
but
go into
still,
obscurity.
right.
It's still weird though.
But you always see this stuff where it'll be like, oh, so and so's at hometown, so we know who makes
Yeah.
it. You know, like there's always somebody who like lives in. Remember that one that was in like Hudson, Ohio?
Oh yeah.
And then it was like, oh, well, they're in Hudson. We see him filming, so we know that she makes it. But yeah. And then Nick Vial was like, yeah, well, then you know, if the winner is watching it, and then the bachelor or bachelorette is saying like, I love you to these other people, or you're watching them go to the fantasy suites. It's like, ouch. You know what I mean?
Watch it. I know.
Yeah.
Or like just the cringe of it. Plus, you know all those people on there at that point.
I
And
know.
that'd just be really weird to like see
Yeah.
them. Okay.
So, okay, I'll apply just
Yeah,
for
just see what
funsies
happens.
and see what happens. They'll probably see my like body proportions and be like, no, we take
Literally,
5 8s and up.
there's definitely a bachelor and bachelorette look.
For sure. Yeah, they'll be like, get a little bit of filler, lose 15 pounds.
Literally though, they're all like those pageant-y looking
Yes,
girls.
I know.
Which is fine, but
And it's the same with the men too. Like so
I
many of them
know.
look the same.
I know they're like the generic
Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll keep people updated.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Have any of our listeners, have you guys ever applied?
Yeah.
Like,
Or do you know
would-
anybody?
Yeah, I would love to
That's been
know
on there?
because I don't know any. I knew who was it? My one friend's. It was like someone adjacent to them, not like a close friend, was on it, but it wasn't like, oh, tell us how. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
give
they
us
didn't
the
know him that
deets.
well.
Right.
All right. I'll do it. You twisted my arm.
I think it'd be interesting.
It would be interesting. And just like imagine if I got on it, like how crazy would that be?
Or like, what if it just like all of a sudden you're loving one of those unhinged girls on there? Like you just don't expect it to go that way for you, and
Yeah,
that's
and
the
then all of a
direction it
sudden-
goes.
And then I come back on the pod and I'm like, the edit, let me tell you.
Like, yeah, it's the edit.
If you're anything like us, you love to sneak a little bit of that raw cookie dough out of the bowl before you bake it. You know it's bad for you, but it's just so good that you can't help it. Well, now there's a company that is making raw cookie dough that is actually safe to eat, and it is made with good for you ingredients. At Dough, they make cookie doughs that taste amazing. They're vegan, they're gluten-free, and they are enhanced with vitamins and supplements that can help with immunity, your skin, and mood support. The best part about these is that you can eat it right out of the tub, or you can spoon it out and bake it in just 8 or 9 minutes. They also have some delicious donut holes that we recently tried on the podcast, and these are perfect if you want to bring them to work or even put them in a lunchbox. They're enhanced with some more vitamins that can help increase energy and metabolism, and let me tell you, they were so good. We tried the chocolate and the vanilla ones, and they were just amazing. So be sure to try Dough at eatdough.com, and if you use our promo code ESWBPOD, you will receive 10% off, and you can use free shipping on orders over $30 for free shipping. So that's eatdough.com, and dough is spelled DEUX, and use ESWBPOD at checkout for a nice discount.
Well, I guess we can just touch base quickly about Real Housewives because we were just talking or unless did you have anything else before we? Okay, we were just talking off mic before we started how, I don't know, it's a little like awkward.
Yeah, I know it's getting kind of weird. Like, I don't know. It's getting weird, or like, and they're like hitting such low blows with each other, and I don't know.
It's like it's getting a little confusing in some parts.
It is, and I don't know if some of it's because we didn't watch the past couple seasons or what, but it's like I just feel like I'm missing something.
Me too. I mean, yeah, that could totally be our fault because we haven't watched in a while, but I don't know. Usually you can watch those seasons separately and not feel that way.
No. Yeah.
I did think it was nice at the beginning how Emily's working with the wrongly accused.
I know, that was interesting. Again, that kind of felt like it came out of nowhere.
Right, because I knew that she was an attorney, but I didn't know that she did anything with that now, you know? So obviously she's keeping up with her
it's like,
license and everything. But I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, she's out here doing it.
And it was, you know, it was like a la Kim Kardashian when she was doing that. Was it with the Innocence Project? Was it with the same thing? I couldn't. It sounded familiar, but I didn't know if it was because of Kim or not. Some of those stories, not to like go off on this, but can you even like imagine? Like you know, not to get anything political about our justice system, but we know it's not always just. But it's like, how can someone? You always hear these things where it's like, there needs to be a body or there needs to be evidence. And now in this day and age where we have so much DNA testing capabilities, it's like nearly impossible to not have that.
Right.
And we don't know when some of those women were, you know, convicted, but it's just like, how can we have so many of these like wrongly convicted people? Like,
I know,
it's just bizarre.
And it's like, oh, it doesn't affect you until it does.
Yeah, I know.
You know, like you just never know what's going to happen where it's like you're in that situation.
Right. And just so scary. I mean, how that one woman was like, I literally came home from work and found my boyfriend dead. Like, of course she's the number one suspect.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know anything about that case, so I don't want to fully speak on that, but obviously she was exonerated, so, but just like how terrifying that could happen.
It is, I know, like, It is scary.
I know. But anyway, and I felt like they didn't even really like touch on that. It was almost like this
No.
is a lighthearted event.
I know,
like it's
like,
not actually.
I know, like, let's pick out a dress.
Yeah, it's
I was
actually
like,
horribly
I
sad.
know, and I'm like, wait, I remember I had to like rewind that a little bit because I was kind of confused about what was going on. Like, I thought she was just like a victim. I mean, in the way that
Yeah.
like something happened to her boyfriend. I was like, oh no, wait, she was like accused of
Right.
it? Like, whoa, what?
Yeah, that was, and the guy who like, was in, I can't remember what his story was.
He was like that one where he's like
Yeah.
16. I can't remember the full
there was
story
like
either.
a group of them or something.
Mhm.
I mean, God, he missed out on so much of his life. Anyway, but that just felt kind of odd too, because it was like, what a beautiful thing and what an
I know,
amazing
and we're
thing to
like
highlight. And it was,
making it silly.
yeah, and it was almost like tainted by everything that was then going
Yeah.
on with Shannon that was adjacent to. It all started when Heather and Shannon, oh wait, that was like dumb. When Heather and Shannon even talked, that was silly.
I know.
I thought it was really weird when Shannon was like, oh, well, I took your text as a threat. And then she literally read the text and it didn't sound threatening at all. Like, I don't know what's going on with Shannon.
I know. It's because she's got herself all flustered about everybody talking about her relationship.
Yeah.
She's like just freaking herself out.
I know. But like, I'm like kind of concerned for her because then in the confessionals, everybody's talking about her drinking.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't think that there's anything so dark and horrible going on in her relationship with John, but it doesn't sound like it's a healthy relationship.
No, it doesn't sound like it's a good one at all.
So just because he's not like abusing her or something doesn't mean that it isn't still
a bad relationship.
Right. I felt like when she's like trying to get ready for the party, the little fiesta, and then Heather shows up and then they get in a fight and she like left. It was giving so like Bravo, Bravo, Bravo by Denise Richards. But they're like,
we're not playing that game this time.
That. Like, we keep these cameras rolling. Like, you can get up all you want, Shannon.
I know they really were like trying to break that wall, the fourth wall or whatever, which
the producers, they were literally just like, fine, we'll just turn the camera.
Like, I'm not doing this.
It just
like,
felt
okay.
It just felt kind of performative though, because then it happened a second time in the episode,
and it already happened in a previous episode.
Right. So it's just like, and more importantly, Shannon, you are supposed to be getting ready for this party. You keep setting it up and then running away. Like, what are you doing?
It's just so like, she's definitely.
Something's going on with her. I thought the adoption talk with Jen and what's his name, Dominic, that was awkward. I'm sorry.
It was awkward. It's like, it just felt like very for TV.
The kid didn't want to be having that conversation.
It's like they can have that off camera.
Right. Like he wanted to play with his little soccer ball and she's like hugging him. Do you ever think about your mom?
But I didn't want to talk about it right now.
Right,
When I'm alone in my bed crying, yes. I think about her.
That was just so, like, Jen, we think what you're doing is really beautiful for him. You don't have to try to convince us.
No.
And then Emily and Shannon started fighting, and then that's when, they both talked to production, which again felt really performative. That's when Shannon said, John's kids don't really like me, and if that ever got out, well, guess what? They didn't cut it, so it's out there, and you said it.
And it's out on Watch What Happens Live.
Right, we already knew that because it was a production in whatever restaurant they were at. The one thing, this isn't really that important, but it is so difficult for me to watch Gina on this show sometimes. I mean, her style and overall vibe, I just cannot get on board with it. That orange dress.
I was listening to this other podcast. I think it was X Knows All, and she was talking about how she's like, the seasons are just so different now, and she's like, I don't want to see Gina in her tiny townhome. Like, I want to see the rich girls again.
Or like with Beverly Hills, because
like,
I'm rewatching or not rewatching. I'm watching last season for the first time because I didn't watch it before, and they literally, because this is Erica Jane, has lost everything.
Yeah.
It cuts to the, how they'll do like the mansion shot where I'm like Tamara's house. Well, this was like the dingiest, crappiest little home. It's like a bungalow, and I was like, oh my God, where the heck are they? And then like there wasn't a little chyron at the bottom, and it's like dirty outside, like no landscaping upkept. And then they go inside, and I'm like, oh, it's Erica because she has nothing.
Yikes.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see the luxury. Like that's what I'm watching this show for.
Yeah, and I think too, like Gina just kind of like, I don't know, she just keeps kind of like whining about everything.
She is whiny. I just don't. And maybe, I know that she's been through a lot. Everything with her ex-husband sounds like.
And then apparently she had this DUI thing.
Yes. And how crappy for Shannon to just bring it. That was what, like.
That's why I'm like, this is just mean.
Right.
I don't like
There was no reason to bring that
and she's
up.
like, because if I wouldn't, and I was kind of confused about the whole thing. She's like, if I wouldn't have done that, then her kids would have been to CPS. It's like.
Well, and that's what I didn't know. Was that brought up in a previous season?
I don't know.
Because it almost feels like it wasn't fully.
Yeah, and then I feel like this part of it where Shannon said the CPS thing was like the new thing.
That was like, totally below the belt. There was no reason to comment on
You're
that.
talking about somebody else's kids now.
And she just did that to be flat out mean.
I know.
There was, and because she's annoyed and trying to deflect, and that's why she brought it up. There was no reason to talk about it. And I was glad that Jen kind of like said, that's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have definitely done more, but she didn't want to like make it even more of an issue. Yeah, that was just ridiculous.
I agree.
I thought Senor Noodles was extremely cringy. And then Shannon is there loving it like, yeah, guy, look at him, Senor Noodle. And everybody's there like,
And then I kind of thought it was funny too, and Shannon was like, and then, what was it, like 3 or 2 couples or 3 couples didn't come? What do you expect? You just gotta fight with Heather.
I know, and even Tamara said that.
But I know, and it's like, it sucks, but why would they sit there?
Why would they come? But that was like, we talk about Tamara also just being out for Tamara and trying to like get more airtime or whatever. But it's like she isn't even a true friend. Like she's there not even defending Shannon. She's like, well, why would they come? Which, I mean, is true.
Right.
But you're the one that caused all that drama, Tamara.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of on you. Eating your food.
Right.
At the fiesta.
I also thought, like, I hope that, like, they would have had a bigger table, because if there were 3 more couples,
they would have been on each other's laps.
Yeah. I just thought that whole thing was kind of cringy. I did think the drunk edit was kind of funny, though.
It was.
Where they're just like, whoa. Yeah, that was kind of funny. What else even happened after that? Oh, Ryan, another gem.
Yeah, his like joke. I don't even.
It was something, I don't even know what it exactly
said something
was.
to Shannon's boyfriend about not doing other women.
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes, that's my job.
Yeah. He literally gets up off the seat, like throws a napkin down or something, and is like, wait a minute, guys.
Listen to my joke.
Like,
that's my job. It's like, it's not funny because that's true.
Right. Can you stop talking about your cheating? We all know you were unfaithful.
It's not funny. It's not cute.
No, and it's like he cannot help himself. Like, he is like a cartoon of a man.
I know. And
like, he's just a caricature.
She's so like docile or whatever the word is. It's like, that's such an odd compliment.
Well,
than
I mean, we've
this.
heard that they're together basically just for the show, so. Heather gets her apartment, and I seriously, I'm going to stitch these together and put in a TikTok that we literally called this, that she is inching towards the Beverly Hills crossover. I mean, it is basically, if Bravo does not do this, I don't understand. It is
I
in their
know.
lap right now.
Literally.
And that
Get her out
apartment
of Orange County.
was absurd.
Mhm.
Like,
Why else would you need that unless you needed it to film?
come on, I know. I do think her son is so cute.
I
Like,
know.
and
All
he
her
just
kids are cute.
seemed like so, like, I don't, we barely know them, obviously, but he seemed like genuinely like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Aw.
Like, he wasn't so like jaded or like
Right.
expected. I thought it was cute when he was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have parties here. I don't know. Everything is just weird. How they're still making everything seem like it's all Heather's fault with the Shannon stuff. That was kind of the end where Emily and Shannon met, and they basically just pinned it all on Heather yet again.
Yep.
So Heather is going to bounce to Beverly Hills. Taylor's going to come on as a main cast member. And honestly, Heather will be laughing as she counts her money.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Heather is actually rich. So
Yeah, so
she is a real housewife.
And that's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see her and Terry get into,
I know.
$55 million homes, and
I know. Is she like one of the richest housewives there's ever been?
she's on the list. I looked it up the one
Mhm.
time. Yeah, I don't know. I know Lisa Vanderpump is up there. Obviously, Kathy Hilton. I can't even remember some of the other ones. I think Adrienne Maloof might have been up there because
yeah.
remember her family.
Oh, yeah.
Side note, speaking of Adrienne, iconic housewife. Iconic. I would love to see her back, even though I don't think she really has a place in this series anymore.
That was just the Brandy stuff, the surrogate gate.
It was just.
It's too good.
But I was thinking.
No, shame on you. Yes. Yes.
It just felt like, I mean, things are obviously so below the belt then too, but I don't know.
It felt
things
more authentic.
Yes,
like it
did.
didn't feel as mean spirited. Doing
Even though-
crystal meth
in the bathroom. But
Aw.
I will never forget the time I was in New York. This must have been 2017. Or no, it wasn't that late. It would have been like 2012. 2013. And Iggy Azalea was playing at this club. And this was like right when Iggy was about to pop off.
Mhm.
We got tickets to go here into this club, and it was one that like Adrienne's family
Mhm.
owned, and so she was there like sponsoring
yeah,
it, whatever.
I remember that. You told me about that.
And Iggy's there, and it's like, okay, yay, Iggy Azalea, and then Adrienne Maloof comes out. My friends like walk away because Iggy had gone off the stage. I see Adrienne. I literally lost my mind. Like, I became completely unhinged. I flew up to the stage, and I was like, Adrienne!
You're the reason I'm here.
She touched my hand. I will
Aw,
never forget
Her
it.
pretty little hands.
And she had that glitter in her hair at the
tinsel.
time. Oh my God. She was like an angel.
I know.
I
I
will
was
never
sad when her
forget
and
it.
Paul.
Me too. I mean, they didn't really have the greatest
But
relationship.
it still was like, I felt like it was like that was their thing, was to pick at each other. I don't know. It just seemed healthy.
For her to belittle him constantly.
It just was so charming.
Yeah, I miss her. She was good. Those were the days,
Those were
man.
the
Those were the
days.
good old days.
Can't recreate that anymore.
No, you can't. But yeah, I don't even know. I didn't watch the preview for this week, so
No.
I don't know what's going on.
I think I did. It was like a long thing again. It's like, why do we keep getting these long preview things?
Yeah, I guess it's just I'm feeling uncomfortable with it, and I'm feeling just kind of uncomfortable that like it just seems so produced, not even produced like by the actual producers,
But
produced by
them.
them. Yeah. Just have real drama, ladies. There's plenty of stuff you could actually talk about.
Literally.
Well, should we take a little break before
Sure.
we get into Mean Baby?
Baby. Okay, we're back. And I guess we're just gonna get into it.
We just had kind of a hard
Get
time
into it.
with this one. Guys, if you read Mean Baby by Selma Blair along with us this month, God bless. Because
I think we are gonna try to be sensitive though, because I
Yeah.
think this book, I believe in the acknowledgments, she said she wrote this for her son.
well, I don't really know what to think about that. That makes me more uncomfortable.
I know that she.
Oh my god.
I feel like, no. I don't think that's the type of book.
No, and to be
Okay.
completely honest, by the time we got to the acknowledgments, I was so checked out, I did not listen to them. So
No.
that was new
So,
information
yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Okay. Well. So anyway,
We're just gonna get into it.
we're just getting into it, and then we're just gonna go. So basically, Mean Baby comes from what you kind of talked about in the other episodes, is in the most literal sense,
Mhm.
because I guess she had like these big eyebrows when she was a baby,
Yeah.
and so she looked mean,
Yeah, and
people would like say
actually-
that. to her
That's a
family.
mean baby.
That's a mean baby over there. Which I actually find kind of funny
I
because
do too.
neither one of my kids have eyebrows. And so it's just like funny
What
to
if they
think.
did? Would they look mean? Probably not. Hers are probably so big and bushy and
I know.
I thought it was interesting how from the very early chapters of this book that she almost like dropped little hints about the MS stuff.
Yes, I thought that would, because I guess in the overall book she really doesn't get that much into the MS.
Right,
But
which-
she like, is that, I meant to look it up.
Me
Is that
too.
common
I don't
with
know.
MS? Is it being like,
Well, and I was genuinely confused. I don't know anyone personally who suffers from MS. I don't know a ton about it. I should have looked up more stuff.
I know.
But
I was kind of hoping to get some of that information from
me
this
too.
book.
I was too. But I felt like she never said. I mean, she said throughout basically the entire book about these weird symptoms that she would have,
and
or
then
just
she would have these like physical symptoms.
yes. But I was
but
like,
and mental too.
yeah.
She'd
But
be like, now I know that was MS.
But she never said, I talked with my doctor.
I know. There was like one time where she said like it finally got like diagnosed, and that
But
was
that was
it.
ages.
Yeah.
That was like recently when that happened.
So
So
I don't know why she thinks that all these things were MS and not just
maybe
like a
they
mental
were.
health thing.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the mental health, that's a whole nother thing we can discuss in a little bit because it gets very interesting. But I mean, it was literally maybe even in the first chapter or two when she talks about the tingling in the arms thing.
I thought that was, I don't know.
It just was like, I would have liked to know, did you talk to a doctor about it?
This whole
or
time.
was this like no one caught it?
I know.
Or was it like you literally never sought?
I know. I wondered
counsel or
that too.
help?
And then I'm like, but was that like growing pains? Because I
Right.
mean, she's talking about this from like
Very young age.
early.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was,
And is that just an inference that she made, or was they actually like,
yeah.
yes, that in that point in your life was actually
Right.
MS?
or you know how you're like, oh, well, now that I have this diagnosis, that makes sense with it. Like
my
you
legs
put the
always- yeah.
strings together, but like, was that reality?
Actually, yeah, I thought that was. I don't know.
I felt, speaking of like was that reality. I did think with some of the stuff when she talked about her mother. I mean, absolutely, mother was toxic, 100%,
Yeah.
you know? But it was almost like, who doesn't have a toxic parent
I
in
know.
some way,
Right.
you
And I
know?
also felt like it was kind of the time too. That
Yeah.
doesn't make it right.
No.
But I know she talks a lot about like her mom just really valued like beauty and fashion.
Mhm.
And she just really believed that's how you were going to get places in life. But you know, some of the thing too was she was kind of like a menace as a child.
Yes.
And which she kind of like says, like I'm not just calling her that, but she'd
Yeah.
like just like punch men and like their
Yeah.
crotch.
She
just
said
like
that
out
it
of
was like at a
nowhere.
funeral and
Yeah, she
she
just
would
like would run up to people. But I mean, I guess she said like all her sisters, everybody had like a role, like you're the smart one,
yeah,
you're
that was
this.
assigned to them.
And she like
She was
was
the
the
evil one, the
the
mean baby.
bad emotional one,
Yeah.
and it's like I do think that wasn't fair to like put
You
that on a
do-
child because she did kind of like become that.
Right, you do go into your role, but it was almost like to the extreme. I mean,
I know
she
she
was
took that
in-
very seriously.
I don't even know what it was, like maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and she told a girl to eat Staples.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I hoped that I would get her genes when she
Yeah,
died.
yeah, like she would say stuff like that. I mean,
I
she
mean,
was
if that's not like a mental
Yes,
illness, I
yeah.
truly don't know what is.
Yeah, and I felt like she kind of was like, I was just so misunderstood. I'm like, I don't know, because
know
it
if
felt
that's
like
what
you
it was.
really were like me.
Yeah. And it's also, I guess, I don't know, the tone of the overall book to me almost felt a little self-righteous, a little
Yeah.
out of touch.
I really felt like I was, and I mean this in not a mean way, but it almost felt like it was written by a kid.
Yes.
Like there
It
was a
did.
really like
juvenile
Yes.
tone.
even in the parts where she's like older. Like I
Yeah.
definitely don't think this was a book written by somebody that has been healed and
No,
did inner child work.
no. But like almost from like early on when she's talking about stuff with her her parents and her
Mhm.
childhood, and she's like, we didn't really have much. But then she's like, Mom always bought these designer clothes, and she bought me to get my first designer
know, and it's-
coat, and we had a nanny.
A Burberry
and we went,
coat.
yeah, we went on these vacations, and we
know.
had steak
Well,
dinners for our family of 5 or
yes.
whatever.
And her mom was a judge. I don't know what the pay rate was back then, but I mean, I feel like that was like a.
But Dad also worked.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like they were, and not everybody has just like $5,000 lying around to buy a coat.
Right. I mean, that's what was just kind of weird. It was like she didn't really ever seem to understand her privilege.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of like celebrities that don't like to like admit that they grew up wealthy because it like takes something away or
Right.
like makes people dislike you. And I feel like that does happen a lot, but it
Mhm.
was just kind of weird to like say all these things, but then act like you guys were just barely hanging in there.
Right. I mean, clearly they weren't that way at all. I think Mom probably struggled with some, like a mood disorder herself.
Yeah, she definitely, like, her mom was not very maternal. She was,
No.
like, stone cold.
I thought, and I Googled this because I'm listening to this and I'm like, has Selma Blair been diagnosed as bipolar?
Mhm.
And I'm not one that like diagnoses people, but I was like, this sounds like definitely a mood disorder for
Mhm.
sure. And then I Googled it and it was like, no, like she says that she's depressed, has depression and anxiety. And I'm like, there's more to that for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was.
And that's just from listening to this book. Obviously, we don't know her, but it
Right.
just was like that the ups and downs. I mean, it was really like a challenge to listen to at times because
Yeah,
there
and
were
kind of like sort through the different
Yes.
emotions about the different things. Because I know we were talking about a little earlier, it was like at a certain point, like I would just stop taking notes because it just wasn't clear what was happening, and I
No.
was a little bit confused with some of the like train of thoughts.
Right. And the whole thing really was just a list of her self-destructive behaviors.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, that was it.
Yeah, from like alcohol abuse, and even that timeline got a little murky because it almost seemed like she's in the 3rd grade getting like
Right. Well,
wasted.
and I didn't, because her family is Jewish, and so they were
Yes.
practicing like Shabbat or something, and they, they have wine there. And that's when she said that she kind of had her first bit of alcohol. And then from there, I mean, I thought it was bizarre because she even said in the book, she's like, I decided right then I'm just going to be the best alcoholic ever.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of strange. She's just like, this is what it is. This is or like how I can solve every one of my problems is alcohol. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that was like before the 3rd grade and at the 3rd grade when she and that was like a main plot line throughout.
Yeah, it always
the whole book, really.
It always goes back to alcohol, which I found. I don't know. I'm not somebody who like does that. Like I don't turn to drugs and alcohol. Not that I can't be self-destructive, but it's like I don't turn to that stuff, and I really would like an actual explanation about that from some of these people.
And it's like, I understand people can have addictions, people make choices that aren't always like fully in line with the way they were raised or whatever. But it's just like, yeah, mom was unstable, let's just say. Dad, there really wasn't a lot about him until later.
No, she almost said nothing about him.
So, I mean, they don't seem like they were the most supportive parents in the way that she probably needed. I don't know about the sisters. Like at some points it seemed like they were close, others it didn't. But it's just like a little bit frustrating to listen to like she just got into these self-destructive behaviors seemingly out of nowhere. It's like she really didn't have like horrible things that happened in her life when she was younger that brought her to this, or like her role models that weren't very good. I mean, they weren't great, but they weren't addicts themselves. That's what makes me think more too that there is something more going on with like a mood or personality disorder that kind of, and some of this stuff too, it's like she would be so deeply affected by the smallest little thing. And some of the stuff I was like, is this just her perception of it, or was this reality?
Yeah.
Like everything with that nanny, when like the nanny got let go, and that was apparently this huge dramatic thing. And it's like, okay, did that really happen that way? There were just multiple things where I was like, I don't think that we have the most reliable narrator.
Yes. Yeah, she definitely isn't. And she gets emotional in the book a lot, which is fine. But it's stuff that you think you'd be able to say now, at 50 something, without getting that extremely emotional. And I mean, she gets inspired by Anne Frank and like really truly believes that she and Anne Frank are like similar.
Yeah, that was,
and that's just kind of like an example of some of the stuff she would do. And I mean, at one point, just school's awful. She has no friends, but she also has a childhood friend that ends up passing away.
Well, childhood friend or love of her life. I mean, it was very kind of confusing.
It was because it's like, oh, he was like, like my boyfriend, but then he was just like a childhood friend.
Then like she's acted as if they were like lifelong lovers before then, and then like at one point she was like
briefly mentioned.
Yes, but then at one point she was like, his name was Bradley. She's like, yeah, Brad and I were together. And then she's like, then my sophomore year, I was with
The other guy,
Joe. I don't know a name. I just said a name. But it's like, okay, but I thought you were with Bradley.
Yeah.
And then she goes back and is like, then he's in college and we still kept in contact all the time. And they were kind of dating then.
Yeah, that part was kind of confusing.
So the thing that made me like the most uncomfortable with that, so traumatizing, 100%, that he, just got in some sort of accident and died very suddenly. And she was very emotional about that and clearly has not worked through it. But I thought it was almost like inappropriate that she even talked about it as much as she did, because she even said in the book, like, I don't know what happened to him. His parents didn't want that out there. His parents didn't talk about it.
But here's his first and last name.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about everything that I know, and I'm going to say that his parents didn't want to talk about it.
Right, and I'm going to say how I feel about it, because that's the most important thing. To be out there. And we'll get into it later, but there's another death she talks about.
Yes, that made me feel really uncomfortable.
Actually, there's several deaths.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
But it almost was like, okay, if you how close were you really with Bradley? Because if his parents wouldn't talk to you about why he or how he died or anything, when you made it seem like he was the love of your life, clearly they weren't that close. You know what I mean?
Well, it's at least the way she's presenting it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, that doesn't add up.
Right.
Obviously it would be I don't know if you've known someone from childhood, through high school. I guess I'm just thinking of somebody we went to grade school and high school with, if they passed away, and be like, that's really, really sad.
Yeah,
but what I take on that as my own grief and trying to
not at this point, but he died when he was a freshman. She was in college, and she was a senior or junior or something
like that.
So it's and they still were in contact. So I feel like I understand why it would be so impactful to her, but it doesn't really make sense that she wouldn't know what happened. I just think if that happened to us with somebody we went to high school with, same timeline, we would have, it kind of did in a way with one person, but it's we were there for the services. We were there. We knew what was going on. It kind of different situation, but just still same. If you were really close to him, why didn't you know?
That.
Yeah,
I know that was very odd.
And just also respect his family.
Yes.
They clearly didn't want to make it a huge deal. Now you put it in your book.
I know, fully in your book. I don't know if they're reading your book, but
still, you said, it's not you. She made it about her.
Yeah, it's not. I don't feel like it's her story to tell, and I definitely, like I said, we'll get into them later. But she kind of does this multiple times, and I think that's what kind of discredits the story.
Yeah.
But is this when she? Trigger warning. I guess we should have put a trigger warning
at the beginning,
because
but to be completely fair, there was no trigger warning for us. This was honestly shocking. Because I listened to it and I sent you a video and I was like, what
is
going on?
Well, there's kind of a lot of I don't even know.
Well, some stuff happened in between Bradley and what we're about to talk about that I didn't take any notes on because it was just kind of like a record repeating itself over and over.
I know. In the timeline, even when I'm reading my notes,
it doesn't.
It's
hard. Jumping all over.
Yeah, it's hard. So we're trying to keep it. But
I think this was when she was in high school.
Yeah,
right?
And she we're talking about the older guy, right?
Yeah, the dean.
Okay, so she basically isn't doing well in school, which she talks about
This is another thing about her privilege. This is a private, very elite high school.
And she's and she was gonna get kicked out because she wasn't doing good, or she wasn't showing up to class or something.
Yeah, she wasn't doing well. And
so
basically her mom just came in and was like,
no.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, like,
basically.
no. Which again, it's like, I don't think that weight would carry with my parents doing
Yeah.
something like that, but So basically, he starts kind of like mentoring her, and she starts doing better in school. But obviously, of course,
He
there's
was grooming her. Yeah.
bad intentions. He, kind of assaults her
Mhm.
basically, and she doesn't want it. And this I thought was interesting too. Her boyfriend at the time, which is not the guy that passed away.
No,
This is the other boyfriend.
Yes.
Believes her, and
Yeah.
then he kind of like is protecting her, but he wasn't protecting. But the way she worded it was like he wasn't protecting her enough.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well, what
he's
did you?
doing. I know, like he would wait outside the door anytime she had to go in
Yeah.
there, and
But she didn't tell anybody else.
no, she just told this boyfriend,
Which I understand why she didn't tell
I know.
anybody else.
And she's like completely devastated by this, as anyone would be. Like she feels betrayed,
But wanted to stay at this school.
Yeah, and I think at one point too, her mom, she ends up
tells
telling
her
her mom,
mom.
and her mom's like, "Well, just don't say anything
Yeah.
because it's not worth it."
And then what did she get in trouble or something? And
yeah,
then
and
the mom was like, I know
yeah,
what you did. Yeah. Which was such a power move
It was.
by Mom.
I know that was kind of an awesome story. That's why it's kind of hard when she's like saying all these horrible things about her mom. Like I
Yeah.
believe that there was a lot of
Right,
that,
I do
but
too.
if you don't care about your child, you're not gonna
Right,
do
I
something
know.
like
I mean,
that.
she was for sure toxic.
Yes, especially
you
with
know,
like weight and
To
everything.
me, it definitely seemed like a generational thing
Yeah.
too. So then in that same vein, this is the big trigger warning, basically. This is what happened. It happened kind of at the same time, but we're fast forwarded a few years.
I think. Yeah, it's like kind of confusing.
Like I don't think she's in high school anymore. But basically, she just is saying her drinking has gotten extremely bad at this point.
Yes.
And she was at like a party. And it was spring break.
Yeah, and she like goes to hook up with a guy.
Yeah, and then
changes her mind.
And she's very drunk. Yeah, changes her mind. And at that point, you're like, oh, I can see where this is going. No, you can't. He says, that's okay. I'm going to call you a cab. She flat out refuses the cab.
Runs out of the
Literally
apartment.
runs out.
Was it
I can
an
just
apartment
see
or
it.
hotel or
Yeah,
something?
I can see it. How manic it must have been. She doesn't know where she is. Remember, this is probably what, the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So no cell phones. She
Nothing.
has no way of contacting her friends. She doesn't even know where she is in relation to her hotel that her friends are at. She's basically blackout drunk. She sits down on the road because she has no idea where her feet are from her freaking head. And these guys come up to her that are just random men, and they end up assaulting her. Yeah. And the way she just says it.
I know, it's like, and she ends up also in this keeps saying like basically this just keeps happening to her.
Well,
she's always drinking too much, and I'm glad she acknowledged it. She's like, I put myself in the worst positions, and it kept happening over and over. She's like, I wish I could say this was my last time.
That was like shocking to me. She's
I know.
like, I wish I could say this was the last time it happened, but it wasn't. This happened to me so many other times. So basically, she would just be at parties or wherever and would be so blackout drunk that she would get sexually taken advantage of by multiple men.
People, like,
yeah.
And it doesn't say like how often and stuff.
But she made it seem like it happened quite frequently.
Yes.
So that was shocking.
There was also, this timeline is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, that's literally what I wrote next.
Yes, at some point she's in college and has a suicide attempt.
Yes, another trigger. This whole part is basically triggering.
It's like, so basically it's like after a breakup, but it's, I'm not sure, but she's in college. Okay.
Well, and this is what, and I feel like we say these things and it's like we're being critical or saying all this stuff. It's clear that like she is not in her right mind, right? Like either whether it's with alcohol or just mental health in general, Like, it's not that we're saying like we're bashing all her behavior. This isn't like a rational person making these
Right.
decisions. But I just have a really difficult time with people who it's like I got in a breakup and I'm gonna threaten
know,
suicide.
that
I mean,
was-
she literally went into the closet. Like, wasn't he there?
Yeah.
He
was
took
there.
a bunch of pills.
And then was like, actually, I don't want to do this.
Right.
Goes in there, wakes him up.
Right.
She goes to the hospital.
They got back together for a while.
Yeah.
Like, and then she did that like 2 more times.
Yeah, there were other times when she did it, and they were all after breakups.
Yes, the one time she called a sister of
Yeah.
the boyfriend, and
the
they
sister's
had
like,
to help.
"What?"
It was just like she just also exhibited very manipulative behavior.
Mhm.
And I know it's like it's attention seeking. You know,
Yes.
I get where that's stemming from. Well, I don't fully get where it's completely stemming from, but I understand the
That
pattern.
it's coming from somewhere.
Yeah, but it's just that doesn't make it less disappointing to listen to, I
Yeah.
guess, you know, or challenging to listen to.
Yeah, it definitely was very challenging. And it was like just in the, kind of the way she would talk about it was a little like jarring too. It was just
Yeah.
like,
It was just kind of like, yeah.
And then she was kind of too like, I mean, I didn't actually want to die.
Yeah.
Well, like
then,
you could have.
Right, you easily could have. And I mean, and obviously when somebody is acting out of impulse in that way, it's like they're not thinking about everybody else, but it's like she still had it was almost like she was making the decision where she's like, okay, I can get what I want if I do this.
Mhm.
Because she did it multiple times in the same situation.
And says, I didn't actually want to die.
Right.
It's like, that was
difficult to wrap your mind around.
It was.
But on a lighter note.
Is this when okay, so she's in a mental institution.
Oh, yeah.
She's hospitalized. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because it comes back to that. But basically, she is on this medicine that she is like, I'm not supposed to be on this medicine. And she ends up like kind of like physically attacking an employee there.
Yeah, and then her dad
sees it. So just let that sit there. Yeah. But I guess her mom was mad at her too for attempting suicide and like doesn't talk to her for 2 years.
Well, and her mom kind of took it as like, how could you do that to me?
Yeah.
Like they had that kind of relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Super enmeshed.
Yes.
Super unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, guess what? She goes to New York City to study acting. But
before that, she wanted to be a writer. She was like, I want to be a writer so bad.
There was a whole thing that was like in the midst of Anne Frank talk. It was like, I want to be a writer. But then it would be like her mom said she wasn't good, but
her
other
mom was
people
not
did.
Sugarcoating.
No.
Well, but it went to, I thought it was a weird jump from that to actor. Like, we didn't really get a clear understanding of why you
all
were.
All of a sudden. And then she has, like, this weird rationale. Like, she goes to a party and sees Matt Dillon. And she's like, that's it. I got to get an agent. And, like, gets an agent. And then works. Her first job is with Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
Did I say Damon? I meant Dillon.
No, you didn't.
Oh, Dillon. So then it's kind of like, okay. That was interesting.
Yeah. And this is going to come up a little bit later too, but I wish I would have counted the name drops.
I did.
You did?
I got them all here. Okay, we got. Hold on a second.
They were unnecessary.
Okay, I have a theory.
Okay.
I think she is like obsessed with celebrities because there's also points where she says, this is the thing Drew Barrymore gave me.
Yes.
This is the thing. Like she keeps mementos from celebrities.
From people. And it almost felt like she kept saying, well, my friend so-and-so, my friend so-and-so.
Yes.
But I just wonder, would they say that you are their friend?
Well, we'll talk about the Carrie Fisher stuff.
Okay, say everybody that she...
Okay, I know I missed for sure like 2 or 3, so just take that in. Okay, so she mentions Drew Barrymore, Claire Danes, January Jones, Kristen Dunst, Jake Gyllenhaal, Penelope Cruz, Paul Walker, Jordan Brewster, Annie Lennox, Stephen Menzel, Ingrid, I can't remember her last name.
Yeah, me either.
Karl Lagerfeld. Jason Schwartz, who
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
Schwartzman.
know. Schwartzman.
He's the
I
guy
said
that's in
Schwartzman.
all the.
Oh, I did spell it out.
He's in the. Why would I blank on that? That like. Oh my god, the movies. The aesthetic movies that everybody's. Wes Anderson. He's in all those movies.
Okay. She kind of like downplays his fame, I felt like.
Well,
That's why I was.
I mean, early in his career, I guess.
Michael Keaton, Robert Downey Jr., Elizabeth Berkley, Jennifer Grey, and like I said, I missed a couple. Reese Witherspoon. I might have already said her, but yeah.
It was ridiculous.
None of those stories were interesting.
No, not one of them.
It was just
And
kind
you
of like
didn't
I
even
went to a
say
party.
Carrie Fisher in that list, and you mentioned her before, and Matt Dillon. Yeah, it was like, oh, you're right. It was like, oh wait, I have this tidbit about this small interaction I had with this celebrity. Yeah. Let me put it in there.
Paul Walker and Jordana Brewster were at a party I was at.
I saw him from across the room. I didn't talk to him though. Like, no, why?
Literally, those were some of the stories. Or like, I think at one point Elizabeth Berkley like reaches out to her, like, "Have you tried this?"
Right.
But I don't know if that means they're friends or if they're just
not.
know of each other.
I don't believe that they're friends. And here, not. I mean,
like
listen,
her.
It's hard to be an actress. It's hard to be an actor. But when I actually like went back, I mean, she's stuff. I wouldn't even call her like C-list, honestly.
No, it is interesting because she's too busy drinking and sabotaging herself.
I mean, her two main roles were Cruel Intentions and Legally Blonde. And then she had a few other random things thrown in. And you know what? This is going off on a bit of a tangent here before we actually get there. But when I originally watched Cruel Intentions, and now this was a while ago, and I would like to watch it again just to see.
I know, I haven't seen it in a couple of years.
But I thought her character was so annoying, so whiny and childish, and I'm just like, my God. And now after listening to this book, I'm like, wow, she just played herself.
Right.
Like, I mean, she didn't have to really act.
I know. And I think she even says, like, her character is not, or is, like, annoying about that character. And it's like, yeah.
But is it just you?
Yeah, she definitely, like, she says she auditions a lot and blah, blah, blah. But she loves Reese Witherspoon. Like, she was just crazy. She does. And she talks about Sarah Michelle Gellar, too.
Oh, here's the thing.
Ryan Phillippe,
I feel like
those people.
If you were to talk to Reese Witherspoon, and from the public persona of Reese Witherspoon, it's like she's America's sweetheart, right? I don't think that she would have a bad thing to say about Selma Blair. If we were friends with, like, genuine friends with Reese Witherspoon, and we talked about Selma Blair, I think we would have a very different story. Because not that it's like she would say all these horrible things about her, but I think that Reese would probably be like, yeah, she'd probably be like, yeah, I mean, Selma's a little much.
Well, we'll get into. Oh yeah, Kate Moss. She talks about Kate Moss
when she bit her.
Seth MacFarlane. Yeah,
there were just so many random stories. The Drew Barrymore thing. This came back in the news recently because of this book, probably. And wasn't she on her show? Didn't Selma come on her show? I'm not
sure. So basically, Drew
is a strong actress at this point. Selma is
very popular.
Nothing. Selma doesn't even have like a role. I don't think.
Wasn't it like they were gonna work together?
Yeah.
But so she gets this role. Do you remember what movie it was?
I don't know if they
Maybe
said
she didn't
it.
Even say it. Well, basically, Drew Barrymore is getting like these death threats.
Yeah, like letters
in the mail, and there's from allegedly Selma.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, you end up finding out it was her dad that was like doing this and was like sending things to.
Well, it was her dad's girlfriend.
Oh yeah, and the dad's girlfriend, and they're
Yeah.
like sending things to like the production or like the
Yeah.
movie people.
And Selma didn't know it was happening, so she was like kind of
Why
being
am I
blacklisted.
Yeah, and she's like, I can't get any of these like jobs, and you know.
And then come to find out, Drew Barrymore didn't even know that it was happening because the letters were being sent to like her team or whatever. So she like didn't even know.
No.
But like Selma Blair was full on blacklisted because people thought she was a freaking lunatic sending death threats to Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, that whole story was pretty awful. I felt really bad for her. I was like, gosh.
And I just couldn't understand, like, what? I mean, why did the dad's girlfriend?
I know. I didn't get that motive either.
And we didn't even get into it, really.
No, she like is kind of like, I didn't talk to my dad for 12 years.
Yeah.
And it was like
they never even like repaired their relationship.
Never touch on that again.
Yeah, that was very odd. Yeah, I said celebrity name dropping was weird. She comes off a little full of herself. I mean, the amount of times that she would. When did she do all these photo shoots? That's what I would love to know.
I know she's like the muse for everybody.
Literally, for every single person in the fashion industry.
Which is like. Okay, maybe.
I think she's beautiful. I think I said this in the last episode. Like, she is for sure one of my like celebrity crushes. But then hearing her talk like that. Oh, you do?
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Do you just want me to like get into some of this?
Yeah, just get into some of them. Like, I didn't even write all those down, like those stories down because
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get into this. So basically, she has a bunch of like drinking and partying stories. For one thing, she didn't hardly talk about, which I didn't remember until I was reading the book, was remember she was on the show with Charlie Sheen, that anger management.
Oh,
and remember there was all this drama between him and her, and she got like fired.
Right.
Doesn't even talk about that really. Literally,
which
just
that
says
would have been probably because Charlie might have looked good compared to what
oh my gosh, I have more celebrity. Okay, I'm just gonna get into some of these random celebrity stories. So basically, she meets Sienna Miller, loves her, but this is like one of the first people she just like bites. So she'll like just grab your hand.
No, she's full. I mean, I don't know. She doesn't say the age, but she's definitely like at least mid-20s, I would say.
Like a working actress bites her. It goes well. Okay, Sienna Miller's like, oh,
sweet Sienna Miller.
It's like, that's just so silly that you did that. So then she gets to like go on this trip with Scarlett Johansson, like invites her out, and they're like, Seth Green's there, and he's like, I want to introduce you to Seth MacFarlane. Yeah. Bites him. He's like, that hurt. Okay, so that like goes.
And they're in public when she does this.
They're like in Europe or something. Bites him. It doesn't go over well.
Scarlett's not impressed.
No, so she never gets invited to do anything with Scarlett Johansson again. Then she gets with Kate Moss, and they're just like partying up together apparently,
which is bizarre.
Bites Kate Moss,
and Kate's like,
no wait, bites her one time. The first time she's like, ow, that hurt. So then she's like, bites. It's like, wish I could see this. Bites her. Okay, so then Kate bites her back. Yeah. Then Selma bites her again.
It's like, you cannot make this up.
And then she just like, she's kind of a menace.
Yeah.
So then Kate Moss was like, that really bleeping hurt. And like, punches her in the back, and then I think bites her back extremely hard. And she's like...
And Selma Blair's just like, I deserved it.
And she's like, I really hoped it would scar. Like, literally says, like...
I forgot she said that.
And she's like, but it didn't. It's like...
Like, it barely broke the skin. Of course it didn't scar, you lunatic.
Oh, my gosh. And then
I forgot. That was creepy.
It was. It was so funny, though, like, hearing her tell the story and just how shamelessly, I just could not tell that story. Then Anna Wintour, she makes this mistake of, like, hugging her in public, and she had no idea.
Imagine that she is just an absolute mess. Like, this is the time where she was just drinking
Yeah, drinking.
constantly.
Like, she definitely says, like, I'm drinking, I'm
Right.
partying
I
with
mean,
celebrities.
she had to have just been a flubbering mess. And I don't feel like we got the full picture of that at the
No.
time, you know?
No, I feel like I don't, like, remember her, like, in the scene.
No.
But I feel like she was, like, partying with, like, A-listers, though. She wasn't partying with Lindsay Lohan.
But how did she get into that
Well,
circle?
because she's the muse. Then she brings up Donald Trump, and she's
Which
like...
was a waste of time.
It was. She's like, honestly, it was an okay... Because that's what she just kind of do. She'll just, like, drop that she was around these people, but not really have anything to say.
No, she goes, this was when I was at the Met Gala. Okay. And then this
she's
is
like, he was
also,
actually really nice.
her
He
hair
said he
was
liked
like
my
all
hair.
falling out because
Yeah.
she's like having a freaking, she's
So she had, like,
abusing
a
her body
wig.
like crazy.
Did she have the wig
so,
on and
I
not
looked
Donald
it
Trump?
up. I looked up the pictures for at the Met, and it's like very clear. I mean, her hair is like super lush and thick, and it's like in this kind of like updo with like a long braid or something coming
Mhm.
down. And yeah, she's like, he said he liked my hair, and that's the only interaction I had with
She's
him.
like, yeah, he was nice. But just, like, kind of... The amount of celebrities that waste their energy in these memoirs talking about Donald Trump is
It's
like...
so...
I'm like, this is your book forever.
Okay, and
Why
honestly,
are you wasting a breath on him?
what was the point of telling that story? I mean,
Literally.
and I can't figure out, it's not to bash him because she didn't say anything
She's like,
negative.
"Hey, he was
Is
nice,
it-
actually."
Are we supposed to like take that as you
Oh gosh, I
supporting
remember
him or just a
I
random
know,
tidbit?
just
Like, I
like-
don't understand
Yeah,
the
like,
point.
okay, we all know, like, Trump is, like, a human, too.
And we also know that he was like very big in the
like,
scene
he was
at that
all
time.
in the scene. Like, you don't have to, like, justify it. Just the amount of celebrities that just waste their breath, it just drives me nuts. Okay, then I just gotta talk about this, too. When she's in rehab at some point, again, the timeline is weird. Britney Spears is in with her.
Oh, yes.
And she's like, oh, she was so sweet, and she was just flopping around in her flip-flops.
Which, I'm sorry, HIPAA.
Literally. Bethany, Rachel. At some point, okay, so this is
this
after.
was such a weird
It's a weird story. So then Brittany, this is after she had shaved her hair,
Yeah,
and she has
Brittany's
the
going
wigs.
through the toughest time of her life right now.
And Selma Blair wants to talk about it. So she goes, because Selma Blair is just so wonderful. She threw away Brittany's wigs, and she's like, stop wearing those. And she's like, okay.
She
So-
basically snatches it off her head and throws it in the garbage.
And it's like, you don't need to wear that anymore. And Brittany's like, okay. And then literally that's how she was making fun of Brittany's outfit. And then she throws away Brittany's flip-flops.
she had like platform flip-flops.
Yeah, and Selma Blair throws them away. And then Brittany is like genuinely upset. Like, who threw away my shoes?
And then Selma Blair tries to play it off as like, I thought I was doing a nice thing.
And she never tells her she's the one,
yeah,
right?
no, she doesn't.
She's like, I thought I was trying to
Why'd
help
you
her.
throw away your shoes?
I know, like, she just like kind of does that kind of stuff. I can't even believe she put some of that stuff in here because it's honestly...
I mean, that was just straight up mean, and I don't think it's... We all know Brittany was in rehab at the time, but I didn't think it was very nice to talk about that.
No, I didn't think so either, but...
Again, it's not your... You know what? I'm glad we're discussing this. I see some parallels between her and Rachel. This isn't your story to tell.
No, it's not, and I feel like she definitely kind of like inserted herself into a lot of stories because
she wants to be... It's like she's so hungry for the fame, you know?
Yes, that's why it's like she has an obsession with celebrities and the way she kind of just like talked about them. But do you want to talk about Carrie Fisher too real quick?
Yeah, that whole thing was bizarro, and I almost feel like it was a fever dream. Like it wasn't even... I would love to know if that was real, you know?
Yeah, so basically she's friends with Carrie Fisher allegedly, and they like hang out all the time in their house at like Carrie Fisher's house, and she gives her the stone and all that. But then she ends up saying that, well, I wasn't actually invited to the funeral because why would anyone know? We kind of just had like this secret friendship.
Right.
And it was just such a weird thing.
Secret?
And she spends a lot of time talking about Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, she spent a lot of time.
She doesn't say anything bad, but it was kind of like she was making it about her.
And yeah, they weren't really any stories of note either.
Like,
it was
hey,
just
she was
like,
cool.
Yeah, hey, this was a random conversation we had. So then, yeah, Carrie Fisher passes away. which is obviously sad.
And then what was weird, when Selma gets married, she gets married on Carrie Fisher's property, and Carrie Fisher, like, didn't remember when the wedding time was.
Yeah,
and just
so she wasn't
at the wedding.
there.
So it's like,
but then there was that random thing with that book signing in like a freaking ball or a mall or something.
Of course, that was the last time she talked.
But she didn't even talk to her.
That was the last time she could have.
That was literally probably like their relationship. You know, it was like, so
Selma
she
Blair.
goes up and was to random people in line and was like, oh, is Carrie Fisher coming or whatever? And tell her I said hi. And then somebody did. And then she apparently was called out something about like, oh,
I know.
she was here at the wrong time, or whatever.
It was like funny.
Like that was just so Carrie. Like what? So then she wasn't even invited to the funeral.
And then you wouldn't believe. Okay, sorry. At that same wedding, somebody actually passes away at her funeral. Telman Newton. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Somebody passes away at the funeral?
Oh, sorry. No, at the wedding. At at Selma's wedding.
I kind of like don't even remember that part. I must have zoned out.
It was just like it was like she's at Carrie Fisher's house for the wedding.
And someone died?
And somebody died, but they weren't actually at the wedding. They were just like at a different thing.
Like what was Carrie the point?
Exactly, because she always has to bring up like death.
So then Carrie Fisher had given her that like stone or whatever. And so then the whole time from the very beginning, from the first line in this book, she's obsessed with psychics and tarot card readers. I just want to say
something about that. She takes everything every other psychic says to heart, but the one that said, you have a horrible, ugly disease that is going, and you're going to have a terrible death. She's like, what did that mean?
Whatever.
Yeah. I was just like, what did that mean? And then like proceeds to keep talking about how MS has affected her life. I was like, why is that the one you weren't listening to?
I don't. And that was from a young age that happened. Anyway, so she gets this stone. She's like, I have to go and see Tyler Henry. I have
the
to
famous
have him.
medium.
Yeah, I will.
That works with celebrities only.
I will sacrifice myself and go on the show if I have to. Like, okay, we all know that's what you wanted.
And then they did do it on the show,
Yeah,
right?
so they did do it on the show. And what was it? She had like something from her mom or dad, or there was something from other people.
And then I think from that childhood boyfriend.
Oh, yes. And then this stone comes from Carrie Fisher.
That I think she snatched.
And she goes,
or
Tyler Henry goes, I don't feel anything from this.
I know. And then didn't somebody tell her, like, no, Carrie Fisher doesn't like to come through. She wants to be like left alone.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like, that's not your person to summon on. You know what I mean?
Because you weren't friends.
Especially on TV.
Right.
You know, like that's somebody's loved one.
Yeah.
Not for you to summon her.
And of course, other people probably wanted to talk about Carrie Fisher, summon her from the dead. She died so suddenly.
Like,
she was a huge loss to people.
I know, she's resting.
She's like, I don't want to be exploited.
No, and it just kind of, I don't know, felt like that.
Speaking of the death, I wish I wrote down who this person was because I don't know. Ingrid, somebody who was within the fashion industry.
Yes, and I can picture her in my head, but I have no idea.
I know. I'm annoyed with myself because I wanted to look that up. So this, like Hannah said, Selma Blair is the muse of the century.
Yes.
And this woman was basically just obsessed with her. They'd do all these photo shoots. They were like besties, whatever. And she passes away. This was like the most uncomfortable I was in the whole read. Well, besides everything at the end about the sun, but this was like so uncomfortable because she really like loses it here. Like she is so emotional and is just beside herself. And I mean, when I say she's emotional, she is like completely crying.
Yeah, like she can't handle it. She can't move on.
Right. And even just like the way it's like it's genuine when you do these reads. They probably tell you like put your emotion into it, make it seem like this is impacting you, this is your life, but it was almost like pull it together a little bit for this, please. Like, she
Mhm.
was sobbing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sad, but it almost felt like desperate. And she did twist it and make it about her. And she was like, you know, I wish I would have known, you know, I would have told her these things. I would
I
have.
know she's always like just missed the opportunity to talk to that person before they, and like there's a lesson in that, but it's still like it just was like a weird, she had like a weird fascination with famous people that
you know
passed
what's
away.
interesting? Speaking of this, and actually I can't remember when this book was written. Was it 2021? I can't remember.
Might have even been 2022, honestly.
I know, I thought that. So,
whichever.
But she never, and maybe it just didn't happen by the time the book was like edited and everything. But with all the time she talked about Karl Lagerfeld, we didn't get any little bit about his death
I
and
think
how
she mentioned it, but she didn't mention it in the way like the Carrie Fisher.
She literally talked about it as if, you know, he birthed her. Like, that's how close she acted, as if they were. And then
doesn't really talk about the death in the way that she talked about some of the other ones.
That was odd.
I know, I guess that whole like part, like, and I wish like if you actually like listen or read the book, the way she just goes through all these celebrities, like line after line after line after line after line, and it was just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, it just felt very, I guess, desperate in a way, or like, I just have to show that I know all these people. Like, look at me, I've got all the clout.
Yeah, that's kind of the way. Yeah, I definitely think she's a girl of her own heart, though. She loves celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, she weaseled her way in there. But it is so odd because, like, I mean, she shouldn't be famous anymore. You know, like, she really shouldn't be. She hasn't done anything notable in decades.
She was on Dancing with the Stars, and I don't know what the timeline was again with the book and this, but she doesn't talk about it at all.
No, she doesn't. And this is going to sound really, like, not sensitive at all. But it's like, honestly, the only reason why she was on Dancing with the Stars and had this mini resurgence is because she was very open about her MS diagnosis. And that is horribly challenging and sad that she's going through that. And I feel for her in that way. But I think that's the only reason why she really had this extra bump. And it really hasn't helped her career. It's just been like she's on the map again. Do you want to get into the awkwardness with David Weber?
Hold on. Sure. Where'd that go?
This is like adult relationships.
I know. Okay, found him.
So she gets engaged to David Weber, who is a Hollywood attorney. Yeah, and he like loves her.
I know, he's a very you can almost guess where this goes.
Yeah.
But basically, he's just like a great guy, but it's just, nah.
No, well, they're still together fully, and she goes with him to see a movie that Jason Schwartzman was in, and she just becomes obsessed with him. Obsessed. She's full on infatuated, completely in love, and she basically says, "I will have him."
Yeah, it's like she just sees him on screen. I mean, she like manifested that.
I don't think she manifested it. I think that she kind of psychotically put herself in. Yeah. So then she kind of did. She like put herself in his line of sight, and she ends up cheating on David Weber with him. And she kind of like justifies it. She's like, we were just drawn to each other. Like, it was just magnetic. I couldn't help it, man. Yeah. And then
YOLO.
You can see where this is going. That turns into a toxic relationship.
Oh, yeah, on and off for years, allegedly.
This was bizarre. Was he away on a shoot somewhere? Basically, he tried to ghost her and just be like, the distance between us is too much.
Right.
She, like, a couple years go by where they haven't been together, and she's like cannot get him out of her head, which relatable, right?
Right.
But she like will call him and all this to finally to the point where he was like this is enough.
Mm-hmm.
We are done.
Mm-hmm.
Don't call me anymore. Like, lose this number,
Then she was
basically.
like, so I guess we're over. I was like, was
After
the ignoring
years,
not?
he's like moved on with somebody else.
know.
Didn't he have another?
Yeah, you get married and a kid.
Yeah, and it was like
She
she
like
could
ran
not
into him and it
let
was a
it
whole
go.
thing. I know. She's like, that's the one man. If it was at my wedding and he came in the door.
And it was
Be
almost,
over.
and she didn't really go into details of their relationship, but I mean, I think we could probably guess
Yeah.
where the
You know,
toxicity was coming from.
Yeah. She's back to alcohol.
Yeah.
Health problems.
This is in the timeline of this book. This is where the biting comes in.
Yeah, this
But
is
it's not really timeline order because I think that happened before Jason Schwartzman.
Yes.
This is what I said. She says everyone's a friend, but would they say that about her? Do you think that they kind of have this pity or sympathy for her? I mean, I think of like people that we might be acquaintances with or run in a circle with, and it's like, man, they're on the hot mess express. Like, they are going through a hard time. I mean, how many times if we were in that situation would we be like, oh, nice to see you. Like, oh, let me take care of you. Yeah.
Poor
Oh,
baby.
you're working there. How great.
I know. That's why it almost does kind of feel like, too, when she says, like, mean baby. I do feel like she does, like, I do feel like that was a good title for this book because she is kind of like a baby that is constantly being taken care of by celebrities.
Others. Yeah.
I think this is, and then all that partying and stories, and then she ends up.
She gets with
this
other
different
guy.
Jason.
Yeah, I didn't even write his name down.
I don't know if she ever really
She didn't fully get into their relationship that much.
But that's who she has
The child with.
She says the pregnancy was wonderful,
But she finally went to the doctor. Did she get MS before? Because I thought it was something where it was, but no, she was having, because the whole time she kept saying, like, I have this pain. I always have this pain. And that's part of, like, why she would be drinking and doing all this abusive behavior to herself. And so then she thought she was kind of going to have this really challenging pregnancy, but it ended up being the opposite.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it was just meant to be that this happened, and basically she went into quite some detail about the conception of the child, which was
neither here nor there.
Yeah, I didn't really need that as part of the book, but okay.
But yeah, like, okay, so now we're getting kind of like into like when she has the kid, she ends up having like a lot of health problems after the birth, and if everything she's saying is true, like, that she was definitely struggling.
Yeah, and it seems like this is when the MS stuff really started to come.
Up. That's why I wish I'm confused about when MS is, because I did have, like, it's been a while since she really starts to say, now I know this was MS.
Right, I know.
So, but this is definitely...
Well, that's why I wondered, I wrote here, like, after... I said that she talked about so many celebrities being her quote-unquote friend. I said, did she go to the doctor for MS symptoms? So she was talking about all of that, but, like, hadn't really said, I got any sort of, like, consultation by anyone or anything like that. So it's kind of odd. Her child rearing is unique, to say the least.
And apparently, okay, let's see here. Her son is kind of an intense child, but honestly,
that shouldn't be a surprise.
I know, and I was kind of like, that's kind of like, I don't know, you were an intense child too.
But then she also, like, takes some sort of accountability where she's like, I basically made him this way.
Right.
Because her husband, like, calls, well, at this point, they were separated, but he, like, calls her out on it. Like, you made him like that. Like, he's kind of a little terror, too.
Yeah. He's also a mean baby.
Yeah. But it was just, like, she did everything for him. Like, he wouldn't walk. She would carry him everywhere. Like, she just would coddle him and wait on him hand and foot. And it's like, you know, how do you think a kid's going to turn out from that?
Then he ends up having this, I can't remember what the diagnosis was, but it's basically like you almost have these like seizures, but they're not seizures. You like get hurt. It's like an adrenaline thing, like your body can't handle it and you kind of like pass out.
Right.
Okay, so then she says she has to do CPR on him when it happens. Do you think she actually needs to do CPR?
I don't know.
That whole thing was I actually know somebody who has a kid that like does that, but they've never done CPR. And like obviously that situation would be really scary, but it ends up, I mean, this just like destroys her. I mean, she can't like get over this.
But at this point, was she separated from...
Yes.
Yes, because I think they separated pretty early on after the child.
Yeah, because she's kind of like, oh, we're not really like a great couple.
But again, it was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
so she was also making all these other parenting decisions that he didn't necessarily agree with, and basically they had like shared parenting, and when this kid would go to be with him, it was like freaking wild. And he's like, what is going on? And then she had like a altercation with his mom.
Yeah, and she like yelled at her like, you have a horrible son, you raised him like garbage. And then she's kind of like, well,
yeah,
actually I'm kind of doing the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a lot. This is a lot.
And I mean, we talked about the enmeshment between Mom and Selma. I mean, it is, well, I would say like 100 times more, if it's even possible to be more enmeshed.
Yeah.
She is more enmeshed with her son. I mean, it is almost like he is still connected with the umbilical cord. That's the way she made it seem like. And when, you know, it's so beautiful to talk about your children. Children are so beautiful, and it's so wonderful that you made this life and that was so impactful for you. But I mean, she again would like sob when talking about like just looking at her child.
She what was I gonna say? She kind of makes it seem like a burden though, too.
Right.
And like everybody has hard days with their kids and it can be really exhausting, but it was like she was talking a lot of the negatives about her son. And obviously, of course, she's going to talk about this like those episodes he was having, because that's like a big part of their life. But a lot of it felt really negative. Like he was nursing, you know, so much, and then
he just
on a plane one time. Yeah.
Oh, that was
on a plane
crazy.
for 12 hours. And I'm sure that was somewhat of an exaggeration, but I don't know, it just like she wasn't.
Okay, but also the plane story when she was like drunk on the plane.
Oh yeah, that's coming, yeah. So anyway, at that point, I guess I'll just throw this in here. She's trying to reconcile with her dad, but of course he passes away. Yeah, so basically she's still struggling with her MS and alcoholism. And she has this like insane story, which I never had heard about.
Me either, but
she was
this
like
was
on a plane,
wild,
drunk, passing out.
Partially because of medication that she was on, but this was also after she hadn't drank in a while.
Yeah.
And then she started, because she made a point of being like, I wouldn't drink in front of the kid, but then she was flat out, and
they're like on a vacation.
Yeah, she's still with the husband at this point, I think. Right?
I don't think they were. I think they were just on a vacation.
But they went together.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's like with the son holding it down. She's taking down drinks from the stewardess, and then things just go horribly
They end
off
up
the
having like an
rails.
intervention. I'm sure there's some celebrity friends in there.
Oh, I'm surprised she didn't
But
mention
she's
them.
basically like, it took public embarrassment for me to get sober. So that happens.
Which
And then
I want
this,
to look that up.
I know, I wanted to too. I wanted to see the pictures, but basically, that's
We're
really
horrible
not
people.
nice. But, you know, I don't know.
I know, but how do we not remember that? You know,
I
but I guess
know.
she wasn't somebody that was fully on
Right,
our
like she
radar.
wasn't like, yeah, like the Lindsay Lohan
Yeah.
type. But this is about when she actually gets her diagnosis.
Mhm.
And, you know, she goes into how the doctors just completely ignored her before. This part, okay, so then she basically gets to do like stem cell treatment.
Yeah, she did
and
a chemo.
This is where when celebrities talk about like their illnesses and stuff, it's kind of, I feel like they don't realize
Well,
how out of touch it is.
no, they
because
don't.
it's like, if the regular person, like, I don't know, that lives on my street is not getting this kind of care, is not
Right.
getting to do this type of stuff. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like they don't think about that when they're like, well, yeah, this doctor, like, we got to make a
Mhm.
whole documentary together and then I could get this treatment.
Well, that's just where, I mean, it goes
That's
in
like-
line with the undertone of privilege that
Yeah,
ran
that
through
she
this
just,
entire
like-
book. It's like she literally doesn't even
I
recognize
know, because
it.
I think honestly, if I had someone in my life with MS and I read this, I would be kind of mad.
Right, because not everybody gets to do. I
No.
didn't even know they did chemo for MS, and I looked it up
No.
because I thought I missed something. I was like, wait, did she get a cancer diagnosis? And then I did some Googling, and I was like, oh, no, I guess they can do that.
And she basically says it helps.
Well, it does. From
But
my
not-
Googling,
yeah.
it's like, because then she's like, I was in remission. You can get in remission, but it's likely that it will come back. So it could be, you
Well,
can
and
be
she-
in remission from anywhere for a few months to a few years, but you just never know.
Well, when she was on Dancing with the Stars, it was bothering her.
Mhm.
So, but she could still like dance. There's just sometimes where it was just too much on her, and she
Well,
ended
and
up
now
quitting.
I've
but
seen paparazzi photos and stuff where she doesn't appear to be walking with a cane all the time, or at least is heavily using it. So maybe she did another treatment.
yeah,
But again,
which-
it is so not
It's just
everybody has
such a-
access to that.
I
kind
know,
of
and
stuff.
and it's not just her. It's like a lot of celebrities will kind of
Yeah.
like do this, but it's like, you know what?
But you know, because I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, "Oh, what's your podcast this week?" I was telling him about this book and talking about Selma Blair, and then I was like, you know, I kind of like wanted to know a little bit more about just everything regarding MS, and she got diagnosed with it at a pretty young age and stuff. But then he's like, well, I mean, kind of like Michael J. Fox. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but like it's completely different because the way Michael J. Fox like treated his illness and how he's brought so much awareness to it
Mhm.
and has done so much with like fundraising and
Mhm.
everything. It's like he is, and he's gone in front of, you know, Congress and the Senate to try and get laws passed about
Right.
different things. It's like he has really been a pioneer in trying to help other people who have this disease.
Mhm.
And like, I'm not saying that Selma Blair and every person that has something needs to go to that extent,
Right.
but it's like she never even
I
like
know.
brought anything up like
And
that.
I would be interested in what the documentary was, if it's just kind of like her. It's not, you know, like it's
Right.
just only about her and not really talking. Because even in the book, she kind of never really explains
No, she didn't.
what's going on.
It's just like, I feel if you are anybody that's in the public eye and you're going to talk so much and be so public about an illness that you have,
Mhm.
like it shouldn't be self-serving. And it felt like a lot of the way she was just kind of talking about it, like it wasn't really to like benefit others who might be struggling.
Right. It was like, here's my struggle. And again, I haven't seen the documentary, but
No, but just the way she spoke about it in the book.
I know. And honestly, she really just touches on that really briefly. I mean,
And
we
I
don't
did
get.
appreciate some of the candid stuff she said about it,
Mhm.
you know, like just with not being able to control herself sometimes and how
Mhm.
challenging that can be. I mean, that I appreciate her being honest about that
Yeah, she
because that is
definitely, there
hard.
was some like raw moments in
Yeah.
there. And even after the stuff after she had the baby, there was probably just like a ton of stuff going on with her body.
Mhm.
I mean, she was really struggling. Like, I'm not being a mom. I can hardly
Right.
be awake and stuff. So, I mean, it definitely,
There were a
yeah.
couple glimmers towards the end that felt
Mhm.
really genuine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, her mom gets cancer.
Mhm.
Let's see.
I stopped writing stuff down
I know,
at
this
this
gets a
point,
little...
honestly.
Okay, so then her mom ends up passing
Yeah.
away. And then she kind of talks about COVID, and, you know, we don't have to get into that,
No.
but... And then she's like, my son's a mean baby, too.
We're like, we know.
Oh, and then there was like a whole thing where... No, we don't need to get into that. But she makes like a chapter for her son and just how wonderful being a mother was.
That
for
chapter
her.
was just kind of uncomfortable, though, because
I
it was
know.
just like the way she just spoke about her son. It was like, oh my goodness.
I know. And that's where, you know, like, and then the acknowledgement, she's like, this is for my son. But I think it pretty much ended on that.
Yeah,
and
it
there's,
did.
like, yeah, like you said too, it's like at the end, I kind of like stopped writing stuff because it was just kind of like, I walked out and
It was so drawn out.
Yeah, and that was like flamingo. Oh wait, I feel like that was a different somebody. The flamingos. I don't think that was Selma.
I don't think it was either.
But I feel like there was like a thing where she was like, it was like my mom. I was seeing my mom, and it was like, okay.
But it was just, I don't
There
know.
was like there's like a whole story about a dog that got taken by this giant
Oh,
bird. There's
God,
just like
yeah,
lots
that
of
was-
like pet deaths.
It was
and-
just like, I felt like with this book, the publishing house said, all right, we need 550 pages. And she's like, oh, shoot,
Here
I
we
only
go.
have 300. And then she had to like add in stuff and
Mhm.
draw stuff out to get the other 250.
I know, and like the fact that we can't really remember the end is,
Says a lot.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, would I recommend this to someone else? Honestly, no. Especially if you are a Selma Blair fan. I wouldn't call myself a huge
know.
fan of her before this, but this definitely made me look at her in a completely different light. And it's not as if I like completely dislike her now, but
no,
it's
and
just
I think by the end I understood her in like not understood her. I'm like, okay, this is how she is.
But it's
she's just
still
very
just- like we said with the Minka Kelly book, it just didn't feel like there was a ton of growth. I mean, yes, she did, stop drinking
Yeah,
as
and-
far as we know.
yeah, it seemed like she was sober.
But there just seemed to be a lot of other things that she has not coped with.
Yeah,
or
and honestly, it makes you kind of sad. Like at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like I'm not happy with like.
No, I didn't walk away from that, and I wasn't like, ha ha ha, it couldn't have happened to a better person. Or
Right.
like, it does. It just makes me a little like disheartened.
I know. I'm like, gosh, and then you just kind of worry about her. Like,
Yeah, like,
is she all right now? How's
I
her
know.
son?
right. Like,
But-
who does she have as a real support? Does she have a therapist? Is she taking her medication? Like, literally, it's...
And hopefully that wasn't too all over the place, but
that's the way the
that's
book
the way
was.
the book was, trying to like piece it all together. But yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. It's just like even like with Jeanette McCurdy's book, like she talks about it's like I don't want to dismiss Selma Blair because there definitely was some issues with her mom.
For sure, 100%.
But it wasn't like the way like Jeanette McCurdy's mom was. Like that just felt more of a...
And even with Selma's mom, so many times she said, Selma, come home. Come get a job
Yes.
here. Selma,
like
come
you're not
home.
doing well there.
Right. And I mean,
And I feel like Selma was kind of taking it as like, of course my mom wanted me to come home so I could be
like
under...
a very
Yeah,
childish
it's
way.
like, I think she was concerned about you.
Right. And like, to be fair, you weren't doing well,
I know. No, she wasn't.
So And that's kind of interesting to think too, because she's from Michigan. So it's like if she did move home, what would her life have been?
Right.
You know, it would have been completely different. And would she have been better off? I don't know. I don't
know
have the
either.
answer to that one.
No, she still would have probably suffered from all this
Oh, yeah.
self-loathing, but
Yeah, it wasn't a book that left me feeling happy in any way. If anything, like we mentioned last week where we're like, we need some time to like sit with this. It was a book that definitely made me like just have a lot of conflicting emotions. Like I was very frustrated with it. I was kind of annoyed, but I was also just sad.
I know it wasn't I know there wasn't like a light at the end of the tunnel at all.
No, and I do feel pity for her, and I don't know if that's exactly what she wants to invoke from people, but I do feel pity.
Yes.
So,
but I think our next book club book should be a lighter book, and and I think too, hopefully, we weren't trying to be super hard on her. We really did not know what to expect.
I truly
with this
didn't
book.
know. Yeah.
I mean, I had my ideas, but it still was different than I was expecting to. Like, you never really know what the story is going to be or like how it's all. And even when you sit through something that is so like depressing, sometimes at the end it'll kind of like wrap up good.
Yeah.
This one didn't.
No, it didn't
so
at all.
You just don't know.
Yeah, I
what way it's going to go.
I just wouldn't say this was something that anybody should read unless they
just really love her and want to know.
Or don't have anything better to do and want to read a celebrity memoir. Like I wouldn't be like, that was really good. I would honestly say pass.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we are really excited to announce another collaboration with the brand Happy Earth. They make the cutest clothes and they are sustainable and made really responsibly. We are getting an order in soon, so we're really excited to show you guys some of their cute fashions, especially with the temperatures cooling down here in Ohio. For fall, these are going to be so perfect. So they have everything from organic sweatshirts to organic joggers, really cute graphic tees, and the best part about this brand is that they actually give back to the environment. So with every purchase, you are helping to fight climate change, plant trees, and even clean up trash. So for a nice discount, you guys can use Emotional Support Water Bottle Pod at checkout for a wonderful 20% off. That's at happyearthapparel.com. Use code Emotional Support Water Bottle Pod for 20% off at checkout.
Okay. Well, should we say what our next book is?
Sure. We're going to do Annie Cohen's book, The Daddy Diaries one. I have not listened or read any of his other.
Me either, but I'm excited for this book.
I know. I'm curious of what it's going to be.
I saw a clip of it. It was like a screenshot on something, and it seems to be written actually like a diary with like journal entries and dates and everything. So one I saw was like related to the Real Housewives, and it was like I had to sit down with so and so today, and it was from a season that we don't watch, so I like didn't know who they were, but it was kind of that insight was kind of interesting. And he's like, and Ben wanted this, so it was like, so I'm excited to read that. I think it will be a lot more lighthearted.
Yeah, maybe it'll be fun.
Won't be as heavy as this one. So yeah, if you guys want to hop on our book club for the month of September, that's what we'll be reading.
It is.
Oh, and we should before we do our recommendations, we should give a shout out to a loyal listener. We had a couple comments from you on Spotify and Sand Perry.
Oh, yeah.
This is for you. We appreciate you, girl. You're listening to us, and I genuinely hope that you see, because we can't respond to your comment on Spotify, and I wish that we could. But thank you for listening. We appreciate your feedback, whether it be, all positive or a little constructive. Bring it all on. We love that you listen to us, and we hope that we can be entertaining, and we will continue to do the pod. We're not thinking on ending anytime soon.
For at least 88 episodes.
So yeah, thank you. And anyone else who listens, if you ever want to shout out,
we could do that.
comment,
Rate us 5 stars.
yeah, give us
comment.
reviews. Don't forget.
Shout you out.
I have a recommendation that is a follow-up from, I think it might have been from our first episode. I said this. I had said that I wanted to start to make or try to make kombucha.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I am doing it.
All right.
My aunt, she makes kombucha, and when I saw her over this summer, she gave me some of her SCOBY, which is like this little bacteria thing that you need for the fermentation, and it's really gross looking, but it's also beautiful with like what it does. But it is currently in its first fermentation, and I have to check it. I think when this is released on Wednesday, I'll be checking it again and then going into the second fermentation. So it is a process, but if it turns out well, I would definitely recommend it to others.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how it goes.
It could be horrible. I don't know. You'll have to try it. I'm going to force you.
All right. I will give it a little...
Just a little taste.
A little sip. I will go ahead and recommend another book, fiction book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Thorns and Roses.
Is this what's been on our TikTok? Okay, so...
Because I was looking it up a lot.
It's just been spamming our TikTok so much.
Has
I'm like,
it really been?
what
I feel like I only
the
looked it up like about 3 times.
It's all these like weird character names, right?
Yeah,
and
Lucian.
Yes. And I'm like, what is this? Why does this keep coming up? And now I know it's because you looked it up and you read the book.
I did. I'm waiting on the second one. I gotta wait several months.
Well, apparently a lot of people are into this.
They are, and they said like this one's good, but the rest of them get way better. But
are there a lot more?
Yeah, I think there's at least 4.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I think one's like kind of recent, so it's like actively being written. But
wow,
it was pretty good. It's definitely like a fantasy book, like
Yeah.
about fairies. I've actually. There's kind of a lot of those like series just like about fairies. Like the fairy world.
When I was in high school, I think there was that City of Bones book series. I was super into that. That's not necessarily fairies, but just the fantasy element. Yeah, I was really into that series.
Some of them are really fun. Like I've gotten through the Red Queen, the Caraval. Those books weren't like, I didn't love them, but the imagery in it was so cool, and just like the world was
and it's
really
just
cool.
A nice fantasy book is fun sometimes.
I know.
It just takes you out of...
I know, especially because a lot of them are like women writing men, so they're like...
The script is flipped.
Yes, and I just like, they write them better, sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not a surprise.
And it's just like so funny. You do kind of, it's almost like you get sad to like leave the characters.
I know.
You're like out of the world again. You're like,
especially when it's a series like that. Yeah.
But anyway.
That's the mystery of our TikTok. I was so confused.
Like, why is this it's so weird that it'll like kind of do that stuff. But I was definitely looking it up the one day. I'm like, got on TikTok. See, now every time I feel like I get on our TikTok, it's nothing but people doing filters, and I'm like, I don't care. Or it's like,
yeah,
what's my girl dinner or whatever.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah,
oh my gosh,
which I
it doesn't
don't care
matter.
about at
I know
all.
it's like I
Yeah.
keep flipping,
and I've never watched those, so I don't know why.
And they keep just like hanging around, and I know those are like what's popular, so it's
Right.
gonna show it to us, but it's like
I don't find that
I'm
interesting
over
or
it. I know
engaging
it's
at
like
all.
bye, and then I
Yeah.
get off the app. It's like it's not even. I don't know. It's like a weird. But
Yeah,
whatever.
I know.
I'd rather get on YouTube Shorts.
The content gets weird over there sometimes.
It does.
Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode. Like we said before, please engage with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on everything we talked about today. If you're feeling super, generous and you want to throw us a bone with Halloween costume ideas, please do. Or any
Mhm.
other fun fall activities, I guess, if
We're hopefully gonna be getting out there this
this
fall.
season, which we say that literally every year. And then we don't do anything. But no, now we have the new equipment. We don't have an excuse.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.